Hello friends, welcome again. So today let us see about the steps to attract the foreign investment. The steps to attract. The steps to attract the foreign investment. That is what we are going to see in this class. You can see page number 65. The steps to attract the foreign investment is given in that column. So in recent years, the central and state governments in India are taking special steps to attract foreign companies to invest in India. So we can see there is a competition in India, we can say, that which government is able to bring more foreign investment into their state. So different state governments are trying to attract them, trying to invite them, trying to offer them more facilities or more privileges, and so trying to exempt them from certain trade barriers, trade laws, and so on. And industrial zones called special economic zones are being set up. So certain governments are setting up industrial economic zones or special economic zones. This area is meant for development, meant for industry, and so on. Then SEZs are to have world-class facilities. So they will select certain areas and they will provide all kinds of facilities which are like abroad. World-class, special, high-class facilities will be there. That means electricity will be provided all the time, water facility will be there, roads will be there, and transport facilities will be there, storage, that is godown facilities will be there, and recreational, educational facility. All these facilities will be provided in that area so that the companies can start there and all the facilities will be available there. So that is how government is trying to attract them to come to my place and invest here. What is advantage for the government if the foreign company comes? So there will be more development, more people will get job, and so on. That is an advantage. So the government has also allowed flexibility in the labor laws to attract foreign investment. So if the labor rules are very strict, then these foreign companies don't want to work there because they don't want take unnecessary risk or responsibilities. They want reduce the law and get maximum benefit from it. So government is willing to listen to them, ready to give them relaxation in the law, and so on. And you have seen in chapter 2 that the companies in the organized sector have to obey certain rules that aim to protect the workers' rights. So chapter 2, I hope you remember that government has to provide, or the foreign companies have to provide certain facilities, privileges to the workers, that safety requirements are there, insurance requirements are there, all that. So they don't want to do all those things, they want to be exempted from that. And in the recent years, the government has allowed companies to ignore many of these things. So government, in order to make these companies happy, they say, okay, you don't need to obey this law, that law you don't need to obey, and so exempt them from in order to attract them, they are exempted. Instead of hiring workers on a regular basis, companies hire workers flexibly for short periods when there is intense pressure for work. So instead of appointing workers permanently, what do the companies do? When there is more work, they will hire the workers. And that season, heavy work season is over, they will send them back. Okay, we'll call you next time when there is more work. So that way, actually that is against. They are supposed to employ the workers throughout the year. So the government has allowed the companies to change the law. Therefore, the companies are able to appoint workers only when there is work, so that they can save a lot of salary and so on. And this is done to reduce the cost of labor for the company. However, still not satisfied, foreign companies are demanding more flexibility in labor laws. So Government has done so much for this, so much exemptions were given to these foreign companies, and they are not satisfied. They say, give us more exemption, more relaxation of the rules. We don't want to obey that rule. We don't want to obey this rule. So they go on demanding. So in order to please these companies, the government is trying to listen to all that they say, trying to provide all that they are asking, and so government also is not controlling much, because they are controlling them too much means these companies will go away to other countries. That's why government is trying to make them more happy by providing more opportunities, by listening to their demands and so on. Then we shall see small producers compete or perish. So when this global competition is there, when this globalization is there, what will be the future of the small producers, small business people, those who are having small industry and so on? How can they survive? So the option before them is either you compete with others or you perish, you die away, or your industry will be closed down. That is the option before them. So rising competition. So Ravi did not expect that he would have to face a crisis in such a short period of life as an industrialist. So we see the example of a industrialist called Ravi. So how he had to face competition from foreign companies in his life, and how it affected him and so on. So Ravi took a loan from a bank to start his own company producing capacitors in 1992 in Hosur, an industrial town in Tamil Nadu. So he took a loan from the bank and he was starting the capacitors. What is capacitors? That is a part in the electronic things in order to provide the capacity. So they are called capacitors. They are part of the electronic instruments. So he wanted to produce capacitors, and he took loan from the bank and started the industry. And capacitors are used in many electronic home appliances, including tube lights, television and so on. And within 3 years he was able to expand production and had 20 workers working under him. So his factory or his business was going on very well, and within 3 years he was able to expand his work, and he was able to appoint 20 more people in his factory. Earlier he started by himself, and now his work is increasing, therefore he is calling more people to work with him. 20 people more are there. His struggle to run his company started when the government removed restrictions on imports of capacitors as per its agreement at WTO in 2001. So, Indian government made agreement with the WTO. WTO told the country government to remove the trade barriers. So, government had to agree with them, and the trade barrier was removed, and therefore the capacitors, the same thing that Ravi is making, it was imported from other countries. So India received lot of capacitors from other countries. And his main clients, the television companies, used to buy different components including capacitors in bulk for the manufacture of television sets. However, the competition from MNC brands forced the Indian television companies to move into assembling activities for MNCs. Even when some of them brought capacitors, they would prefer to import as the price of the imported item was half the price charged by the people like Ravi. So the company that was buying from him capacitors to make television, they began to use other products. They began to work for other companies, the foreign companies, because multinational companies are there. They are inviting other local companies to work with them, collaborate with them, and so. So they stopped buying things from Ravi, and also the imported capacitors, and their price was much cheaper, half the price of Ravi's things. Therefore, everybody was buying the cheaper thing, and Ravi's things nobody was buying. Therefore, he had to suffer a lot. And Ravi now produces less than half the capacitors that he produced in the year 2000, and has only 7 workers working for him. So his business was affected, and people were not buying capacitors from him, and so he stopped the production too much. he produces only half of it now. And he sent away the workers also. Earlier he had 20 workers, and now he has got only 7 workers. All the rest he sent them away because there is no much work. And many of Ravi's friends in the same business in Hyderabad and Chennai have closed their units. So, like Ravi, there were so many other people also producing small electronic items, having small factories, and they all were affected because of this globalization. They were all had to close down their factory because they could not compete with the other multinational corporations. That's why for the small farmers to survive, either you should compete with others, should try to make more cheap things than others. The price should be cheaper than the foreign companies, and the quality should be higher than that of the foreign company. So then we can say we are competing with others. And if no competition, then you perish. You will have to close down your factory, and you will have to do some other work. That is a great risk that is in front of these local people, and so they are suffering, we can say. So batteries, capacitors, plastics, toys, tires, dairy products and vegetable oil are some of the examples of industries where the small manufacturers have been hit hard due to competition. So some of the small industrialists or small business people, they are really suffering because of this competition, like those who are producing batteries, or those who are producing capacitors like Ravi, or plastics, those who are producing plastic items, toys, tires, then dairy products. Dairy products means milk products, and vegetable oil. So all these companies have hit hard, have been hit hard. They are suffering because of this globalization. Foreign companies have come to India and they are bringing their products, and therefore the Indian business people have to compete with them. They have to make better quality than them, and the price should be lower. Then only Indian things will be able to stand. The people will be able to stand up against other foreign companies. And several of the units have shut down, rendering many workers jobless. So because of that, many people have lost their job. Because of this globalization, many people have lost their jobs. And the small industries in India employ the largest number of workers, that is 20 million in the country, next only to agriculture. So the small scale industry in India, that is employing the large number of people in the field, giving providing job. That means 20 million people are working in these small scale industries. So that is next to agriculture. Agriculture is the one which is providing highest number of people. They are providing almost 64% of the people in India are working in agriculture. Next to that is people working in industry, small scale industry. Around 20 million people are working in this. So all those people were hit very hard when, because of this globalization, because of entry of foreign companies into India, they were really affected. Let's see the workout. What are the ways in which Ravi's small production unit was affected by using competition, by rising competition? So because of this, a high price, and the multinational corporations invited those companies who were buying from him to work with them. Therefore, they stopped buying from Ravi, and also the things that Ravi produced was costlier. So the foreign companies were able to provide for half the price, therefore people were buying what they were producing. Then, should producers such as Ravi stop production because their cost of production is higher compared to producers in other countries? What do you think? So they don't have to stop production, but what they need is try to compete with the foreign companies, try to make better things in high quality and reduce the price, and that way they can stay on in the competition. Otherwise they will have to close down their production. They will not be able to make any profit. They will be running on loss. Then recent studies point out that small producers in India need three things to compete better in the market. So if Indian industrialists or Indian business people want to compete with other foreign companies, they need certain facilities. What are they? First of all, they need to have better roads, better power, better water supply, raw materials, marketing, and information network. So all these facilities should be provided to these industrialists in India. Then they will be able to compete with others. Then improvements and modernization of technology. So we need to have more modern technology. Then they will be able to have good competition. Then timely availability of credit at reasonable interest rate. So most of them don't have enough money to start a business. So the bank should give loan to these people. That the government should direct the bank to give interest free or less with less interest to the business people, so that they can take loan from the bank and start this production or start industry and so if they do these things, then certainly the production or manufacturing things in India also will become easy, and the farmers will be able to compete with the foreign farmers. Then what are the ways in can you explain how these three things would help Indian producers? So if these three things are given, or then Indian farmers or Indian business people will be able to produce better by using better technology, by having electricity regularly and so. Most of the places there is no electricity, therefore they have to start generator, and that way they have to buy more diesel, then the expense is going up. Suppose the government is providing electricity, then they can save electricity, the diesel money, no need to run generator and so on. Also water supply should be there, the raw materials should be nearby. All these government should also provide. In the foreign countries, government is helping them, that's why these companies are able to do better and reduce the expense in producing things. But in India, the people are managing by themselves with their personal effort. Government is not doing anything. Because of that, the production is becoming very costly. Then do you think that MNCs will be interested in investing in this? Why? So if government is giving them opportunity to the foreign companies or multinational companies, they also will be happy to invest. They will be happy to make road for India, they will be happy to provide electricity and so, but they will charge. They can enter into all these areas. Finally, almost all the things in India will be done by foreign companies. So that will be risky for India, because all the profit in India will be taken away by these multinational companies. Therefore, government better to do by themselves instead of giving to foreign companies. Try that the government themselves do all these developmental activities in India. Then do you think that the government has a role in making these facilities available? Certainly government has got a role, because government is elected in order to bring development to the country, to work for the benefit of the country and so. So instead of asking the foreign companies to come and work, the government themselves should do the work and try to develop the country. That is their duty, that is their responsibility. Then can you think of any other step that the government could take? So government also can do some trade barriers. No need to obey all that WTO is telling. Government has to think about the benefit of the people of the country, not just thinking about benefit of others. Don't have to worry, if I do this way other countries may be angry and so. Government has to first of all think about the people of that country, the industrialists, the manufacturers. They should make certain rules that will help them. So regulate the import and so on, so that the people in our country, the business people, the manufacturer, they also will be able to improve and able to come up in life. Now let us see competition and uncertain employment. So because of this competition between Indian companies and the foreign companies, the employment, what happens to the people? Do they get employment, or are they sure or not sure of the employment? So globalization and the pressure of competition have substantially changed the lives of the workers. And faced with growing competition, most employers these days prefer to employ workers flexibly. This means that workers' jobs are no longer secure. So earlier we said the government allowed the multinational corporations to make a lot of flexibility in the labor laws. So they are supposed to be employed for the whole year from January to December. Instead, the companies will say, now there is no job, you no need to come. We will call you when there is job. We will pay you salary only when you are working. And so people are not sure whether they will get employment or not. The companies will call them for a few months. Afterwards, they have to sit simply without any job. So they are having only sometimes jobs, seasonal jobs we can say. So that way the people are not sure about their future, whether they are going to get employment or not, whether they are going to get job or not. That is a serious problem that people are facing. So you can see a picture also there. The workers in the garment export industry in India are having to bear this pressure of competition. So those people who are employed in the garment exporting industry, they are having work only certain season. When there is no export, they have no work and so on. So that is the way they are suffering. So factory workers folding garments for export. You can see in the picture, people who are working, they are folding the garments, dress in order to export to the other countries. Then, though globalization has created opportunities for paid work for women, the condition of employment shows that women are denied their fair share of benefits. So, because of this globalization, women are denied their opportunities or a fair share of benefits. They are just given little money as a wage and they are not getting the benefit. The company is getting a lot of profit, but the women do not get that share of the profit of the company. So large MNCs in the garment industry in Europe and America order their products from Indian exports, and these large MNCs with worldwide network look for the cheapest goods in order to maximize their profits. So to get these large orders, Indian garment exporters try hard to cut their own costs. As costs of raw materials cannot be reduced, exporters try to cut labor costs. And where earlier a factory used to employ workers on a permanent basis, now they employ workers only on a temporary basis so that they do not have to pay workers for the whole year. And workers also have to put in a very long working hours and work night shifts on a regular basis during the peak season. And wages are low and workers are forced to work overtime to make both ends meet. So some of the big companies in America and England and so on, what do? They order, because cloth is very cheap in India, they order dress from India and take it to Europe or take it to America. As I said in the earlier classes, they'll change the label, the name of the company will be changed and they'll put their own name and they will sell it. So they will try to bargain with the Indian business people, try to reduce the price. So the price, in order to get more order from the foreign companies, the Indian manufacturers or Indian business people, they will try to reduce the price. So if they reduce too much price, then they will be losing, because they have spent so much money for producing this cloth. They cannot simply reduce it. So they will reduce certain amount and they will try to give to the foreign companies. But how will they reduce? They will pay the workers salary less. They will say, workers, we will give you only this much less. If you want, if you this much money, if you want, you come and work. So poor people, they have no other work, therefore they will agree, they will come and work. So at the expense of these poor workers, especially the women, the companies in America or Europe, they are making profit. And so that's why we said the companies are getting profit, but the people are suffering. Their wages are coming down and down. So at the expense of these simple ordinary workers, the foreign companies are getting extra profit. They are making like maximum profit. And while this competition among the garment exporters has allowed the MNCs to make large profits, workers are denied their fair share of benefits brought about by globalization. So because of globalization, the MNC has manage to get more profit. They are able to make business from other country, buy things from other country and so on. But at the same time, the workers are suffering. They are not getting a fair wage. They are not getting employment for the whole year. They are appointed only for this season of exporting. So every day there is no exporting. Whenever there is exporting, they will call these people, come and fold this dress, pack nicely and help. So they may be asked to work longer time. Instead of 6 hours, they will be asked to work 8 hours, 9 hours. Some will be asked to work during night time in order to complete the work faster. So people, their hardships are more, but their payment is very low, their profit is very low. That is one demerit of this globalization, that the Indian people are affected. Let us see the example of a garment worker. So 35-year-old Susheela has spent many years as a worker in garment export industry of Delhi. She was employed as a permanent worker entitled to health insurance, provident fund, overtime at a double rate when Susheela's factory closed in the late 1990s. So this factory was doing well, but in 1990 this factory was closed. So she had lot of benefits. She will be getting the health insurance, any sickness or anything, the company will meet the expense for treatment. Then she will be getting provident fund at the time of retirement, some extra money will be given to her. Then overtime at a double rate. If she has to work some overtime, then for that much time she will be paid double rate. So her salary will be double for working extra time. Then all these things were suddenly over when the factory was closed down. So after searching for a job for 6 months, she finally got a job 30 kilometers away from where she lives. So company was closed, she lost her job, and she was searching for a new job, and finally after 6 months she got a job, and that place office is 30 kilometers away from her place. And even after working in this factory for several years, she is a temporary worker and earns less than half of what she was earning earlier. So this company, the new factory where she is working, they are not paying her salary. They are paying only half of the salary which she was receiving earlier. And she is not appointed as a permanent worker. She is appointed as a temporary worker. That is, anytime she can be dismissed saying there is no more work, you can go home. So that kind of uncertainty the workers are facing. And she leaves her house every morning early, 7 days a week at 7:30. So she has no rest. Even on Sundays, no holiday for her. She has to work all the 7 days. And 7:30 morning she goes and coming back 10 p.m. And day off from the work means no wage. So one day she is taking rest means she will not get money for that day. Her money will be, salary will be cut. And a day off from the work means no wage, and she has none of the benefits she used to get earlier. So the company where she was working early, we said she gets a lot of benefits, but in this new company they are not giving her any benefits. And factories closer to her home have wildly fluctuating orders and therefore even pay very less. So some factories are there near to her house. She tried to get job there also, but they don't have proper order. They are not getting much order for things from outside. Therefore, there is work is not very regular. Only sometimes there is work, and therefore the payment is very low there again. That's why she is going 30 kilometers away. But she has to work from morning 7:30 and only evening night 10 o'clock only she is able to come back. So she is really undergoing a lot of troubles, a lot of hardships and so on. Then the conditions of the work and the hardships of the workers described above have become common to many industrial units and services in India. So we just saw the example of this lady and the other ladies working in the textile export industry. They are all suffering, they all have to work too much and their payment is very low. And most workers today are employed in the unorganized sector. So their sector is unorganized. They have no permanent job, no job security, no insurance and so on. Moreover, increasingly conditions of work in the organized sector have come to resemble the unorganized sector. And workers in the unorganized sector, such as Susheela, no longer get the protection and benefits they enjoyed earlier. So when they are working in the organized sector, they have the benefits, they have the insurance, they have the provident fund, they have the medical insurance and so on. But when they are working in an unorganized sector, they have to obey everything what the company says, but their payment will be very low, and their salary, they will work overtime, and they will not have their permanent worker as whenever there is work only they will get job and so. And one day if they are off, they are taking leave, then that day's work payment will be cut and so on, and they have to work overtime, even 7 days a week they have to work and so on. So that all the hardships that the people are experiencing because of MNCs have entered into the competition level, and because of that the small factories, small companies all have suffered, while many of them have closed down and they have lost their job, lost their profits, and the people have lost their job and so on. So that is all the drawbacks of this MNCs. So on one side there are a lot of benefits are there, especially for the people who are living in town, but other people like workers, females and so on, they have a lot of disadvantages, a lot of sufferings, a lot of hardships are there. So remember all these, that when we think about development, we also need to think about the poor people who are going to suffer because of that development. So we have to think about them also, we have to help them also, then only we can really say our country is progressing, our country is developing. So we shall stop today, and we will continue the last part of the lesson in the next class, and till then, bye, thank you.